Hey everyone, today we're going to talk about something that's absolutely critical for any business that wants to grow: internal controls. Now, I know what you're thinking. Rules, paperwork, boring. But trust me, think of them less like rules and more like the blueprint that lets you build something massive and successful without it all coming crashing down. Let's get into it.
So let me just kick things off with a question for you. What do you think is the single biggest threat to a business that's really hitting its stride? You might think it's the competition, right? Or maybe a big market shift, or even just running out of cash. And yeah, those are all huge. But the most dangerous threat is often something you'd never expect.
You're looking at it right there. It's your own success. It sounds completely backward, doesn't it? But think about it. When growth happens too fast without the right systems in place, it creates all these hidden cracks in the foundation. That very momentum you fought so hard for can actually become the thing that tears your company apart if you're not careful.
And that leads us perfectly into our first section here, growth's hidden danger. This is really about the challenge that, believe me, every single successful company eventually comes face to face with.
So here's the absolute core of the issue. As your company gets bigger, your processes, how you get things done, they start to morph and stretch way faster than your ability to manage them. It's like you start out in a little rowboat. One person, one set of oars, it's simple. But as you grow, you're suddenly trying to steer a giant cruise ship with that same little rowboat tiller. It just doesn't work. It can't keep up.
And this is where you can really see that breakdown happen. In the early days, everything runs on trust. A quick, hey, did you end up paying that big invoice in the hallway? That's your entire process. But what happens when you've got 50 new people and that person you used to ask is 3 departments away? Suddenly, that informal check becomes a huge risk. The simple workflow breaks down, and now you're exposed.
Okay, so if you know these cracks are probably forming under the surface, how in the world do you find them before they cause a major earthquake? Well, that's what this next part is all about, finding the fault lines. This is where you get proactive.
First things first, let's be super clear on what we're talking about. When we say internal controls, all we mean are the systems you put in place to do 3 basic things: protect your stuff, make sure your financial reports are actually right, and help everything run more efficiently. See? This isn't about creating a bunch of red tape. It's about building the strong frame that your business needs to stand on.
And here is the most important part. The whole goal is to figure out how work actually gets done, in the real world. It's not about looking at some dusty old process map in a binder. It's about getting in there and seeing the workarounds and the real day-to-day flow of things across the entire organization.
So how do you do it? Well, it's a pretty logical process. First, you review a whole workflow from start to finish. Let's go back to that invoice. You trace its entire journey. Then, you identify where the gaps are. Right there. There's no formal check to see if it's already been paid. It's just that hallway chat we talked about. Finally, you assess the risk. What's the damage? It's not just about losing money on a double payment. It's that your financial reports could be wrong, and that's a huge problem for investors.
Finding the problems, that's one thing. But what really matters is what you do next. And that brings us to building a stronger core. This is where you actually start fixing things and making the business more solid.
Now, this is absolutely key. So many people are afraid that controls just mean slow everything down, but it's the total opposite. A good control has to be practical for the people who actually have to use it. It's got to be scalable, so it still works when you double in size again next year. And, most importantly, it should make things clearer and smoother, not get in the way of getting business done.
So you end up focusing on these key areas. It's not just about patching little holes. Remediation, for instance, means actually fixing that invoice gap we found. And the fix might be simple, like a software rule that flags duplicate invoice numbers. Strengthening governance just means making it super clear who's in charge of what. And that last one, preparing for ICFR, that's all about getting your company ready for the big leagues. Proving to the outside world that your numbers are solid because your process is solid.
All right, so you've done all this work. You've found the cracks. You've built a stronger foundation. So what? What's the real result? This is what we call the confidence payoff, and it is a really big deal.
And this quote just nails it. Let's break that down for a second. Stronger governance means your company just runs better, period. Cleaner audits, well, that means less stress and fewer nasty surprises come audit season. But that last part, better decision confidence, that is the real game changer. It means your leaders can actually trust the data they're looking at and make big, bold moves without guessing.
At the end of the day, this whole thing isn't really about checking a box for an auditor. An audit is just a moment in time. This is about building a business that's fundamentally stronger, more predictable, and ready for whatever comes next. It's about building to last.
So I'll leave you with this question to think about for your own company. You've got huge ambitions. You know where you want to go. But is your foundation built to get you there? Are the systems you have today really built to handle the success you're pushing for tomorrow?